Have you ever walked into your grocery store and it just seems to have exactly what you want? Even stuff you didn't know you wanted yet? Well, that's not magic, and it's not a coincidence. It's data. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden tech that shapes how you shop, and we're going to use a really cool partnership between grocery giant ShopriteX and the data wizards at Symbyte to see how it all works. I mean, just think about that for a second. What if the people stocking the shelves could see the next big food trend coming, weeks, maybe even months before it actually hits? This isn't some far-off sci-fi idea. This is the exact question that's driving a total revolution in retail. All right, so to really understand the solution here, we first have to get our heads around the massive size of the problem. And our story starts with a huge retailer, ShopriteX, facing a challenge that is, well, just enormous. The source material calls it an ocean of data, and honestly, that's the perfect way to describe it. Every single time you go shopping, you're creating a tiny ripple in that ocean. What you bought, when you bought it, what else was in your cart. For a company the size of ShopRite, it's not a stream. It is a massive, overwhelming sea of information. And we're talking about a seriously deep ocean. Over 1 billion individual records. That's 1 billion receipts, 1 billion shopping trips, 1 billion little clues about what we, the shoppers, are doing. You can imagine trying to find a meaningful pattern in all of that by hand? No way. It's just impossible. And this really gets to the heart of it all. ShopriteX was staring at this data ocean and asking themselves this exact question. Out of all these billions of data points, how do you figure out what actually matters? How do you separate the really important signals from all the background noise? Answering this question was absolutely crucial. And that's where the second company in our story comes in. Meet Symbyte, a company whose entire job is to make sense of these giant data oceans. They were the ones brought in to be the official trend spotters, the digital detectives for ShopriteX.
So the main tool in their toolbox is something called Predictive Analytics. Now that sounds super technical, I know, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It's all about using data from the past to find patterns that let you make really, really good guesses about what's going to happen in the future. It's basically about turning that messy ocean of data into a clear, usable map.
So their mission was crystal clear. Dive headfirst into ShopRite's billion-record database and come back with the hidden gems, the trends that could actually help them make smarter business decisions. And to do it, they came up with this brilliant two-part solution. Let's start with the really mind-blowing part of all this, a super powerful statistical algorithm. You can think of this as the engine that's doing all the heavy lifting. It's the part that actually listens to what all that data is trying to say. And the way it works is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down. First, the algorithm just scans everything, all 1 billion plus records. Then it starts picking up on these subtle patterns and how people are shopping. Are more people suddenly buying oat milk on a Tuesday? Are they pairing a certain brand of chips with a new seltzer on weekends? And finally, from all of those thousands of potential patterns, it boils it all down and isolates just the 15 to 20 most important, most significant trends that are happening right now. And this chart here, it shows the process perfectly. The algorithm is basically a giant filter. It takes that huge bar of total data on the left, sifts through it to find that medium-sized group of behavior patterns, and then filters it one more time to give you that tiny but incredibly valuable little bar of key trends on the right. It's all about automatically finding that needle in the haystack. Okay, but finding the trend is really only half the battle. I mean, an amazing insight is totally useless if it's just sitting on a computer server somewhere, right? So how do you get this super valuable information to the people who can actually do something with it? Exactly. That's the big question. So you've found these amazing trends. Now what do you do? This is where the second part of Symbyte's solution comes into play. And it's every bit as important as the fancy algorithm. It's all about making sure that data gets delivered. So they built this automated tool that takes these complex trends and wraps them up into what the source calls a beautiful PDF, which basically just means it's super easy to read and understand. And then it automatically emails it out on a regular schedule to all the key decision makers at ShopRite. This whole system means the right people get the right information at exactly the right time, so they can make smart, data-driven calls on what to put on the shelves. So let's just zoom out for a minute, because this story isn't really just about one grocery store. This partnership between ShopRite and Symbyte, it gives us a really clear window into the future of shopping, and specifically the future of what's going to end up in your cart. Here's the big takeaway from all this. Behind the scenes, whether you realize it or not, This kind of tech is quietly shaping your entire shopping experience. The choices you see on the shelf, the sales you get offered, the new products that magically appear. More and more, that's not based on guesswork. It's being guided by powerful algorithms that are predicting what we all want together.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating and maybe slightly spooky question to chew on. As these predictive technologies get smarter and smarter and more woven into our daily lives, who's actually in control of the decisions we make? Is it still you? Or is it the algorithm that might just know what you want, even before you do? Something to think about next time you're wandering down the grocery aisle.